Hello, you lovely bunch of English-speaking people and my 11 subscribers. Wow, what a result. Okay, so today we're going to be talking, or we're going to be making a strozzapreti, which went over to say it was throttled priests. Some people say it means choked priests, but the reason behind it is because they're supposed to, or they were supposed to eat lots and lots, and in the end they got choked. But I'm going to show you why I think throttled priests is probably more to the point, and lots of people think it is throttled priests as well. So I don't think we're going to be going far wrong. This is a pasta without egg, so very easy to make, very cheap, and should take around about an hour, I should think, to make almost a kilo, well, probably slightly less, of pasta. Okay, so see you in there. Ciao. Right, all set to go. So what we need is we need 500 grams of flour. I recommend, okay, not everybody does, type 0 rather than 00, because it's less refined, so it's obviously better for you. And to be honest with you, I haven't found any difference, but it should be a little bit better for you. So we need 500 grams of that, and we need 300 grams of water, okay, and it's been suggested that I use warm water rather than cold water, and up until now I found it works really well, so that's it. I'm a pretty messy worker, so what you do need is definitely to cover the table, and don't work in a sort of a space where you're going to hit the rolling pin or anything like that. Make sure it's a little bit open, and cover the table, and obviously wear an apron, okay? Always wanted to do that. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, so we've got our 10 fluid ounces basically, which is 300 milliliters of warm water. We've got our 500 grams of 00 flour, okay? So what we've got to do is we've got to pour basically it all in to make a bit of a hill. Once we've got the hill, we now need to make it into a volcano, okay, of which we're going to fill the middle up, the center up, with a bit of water. Now what I suggest is you pour it in, not all of it straight away, you just put little by little, and as you'll see as I go on, we're going to pour in a little, and as we do it, we need to mix it in, and you'll find that it becomes extremely gooey in the beginning, but then it tends to get more like a pastry in the end, okay? So I don't know if you can see that, it starts to stick together and become a little bit more malleable, okay? We'll carry on with that, and as we go along, it all starts to get a little bit easier. You might find that if you do pour too much in, it starts to fall out all over the place. That's why I'm saying you really do need to have a tablecloth all around you and something to stop the water and stop the flour getting everywhere. So as you can see, it's already starting to get a little bit like a spongy type of ball, okay? So we'll carry on with that and make it all in the same way. As the water goes down, you will need all the 300 grams of water. Okay, now we get to the point where it starts to get a bit fun and we start to really knead it, okay, until it gets to one solid ball of flour and water, and you'll find, amazingly, with those amounts of flour and water, you'll end up with something that starts to look almost professional. Okay, so as you go along, you want to try and pick up all the bits that are still dry. Don't worry if you think it's already there. It's not until you pick up every last bit. Okay, so we've got our little lump of dough there. We're going to need a little bit more flour, so putting the flour down to make sure it doesn't stick to the wood, okay, and then we just rub it into the wood so it becomes easy to roll in. Okay, now then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do half and then I'll do the other half afterwards, just because it won't fit on the board. So if you've got a board that's small like mine, I would definitely suggest doing half. You might find that it's actually necessary, even if you've got a fairly big board. When you roll it out, it really does get pretty big. So once we've got this sort of probably about 1 millimeter thick, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, around about 1 millimeter thick, should be more or less enough. Okay, I'm working here on the table to make sure that nothing gets knocked in the way, but we're almost there. Okay, right, so now all that needs to be done is to cut it, and we're going to cut it as though you'd cut probably fettuccine or any other pasta that's slightly wide. Okay, so we need to put it there. Okay, so what we now need is a sharp knife. Okay, I've got one here that I use for chopping vegetables and things like that. It really does need to be sharp. If it's not sharp, then please sharpen it. Otherwise, what you're going to end up is pulling the pasta as you cut it. Okay, put the rolling pin as I do along here and just slice it, then move it around about 1 centimeter and slice it again. Carry on like that until you finish the cutting. And as you'll see, where it gets a little bit thin, it might just start to pull the pasta. Again, it doesn't matter, but it becomes a bit difficult at the end to cut because it all gets pulled over to one side. Okay, so again, if you're having problems with this, your knife isn't that sharp, try to put the knife more level to the board, and that will help as well, because it means more knife gets cuts the dough. Okay, so if it's not sharp, use that strategy as well. Now we can actually stop here and leave it at fettuccine if we want, I believe. Okay, never having done that, but I will be asking as we go along. Okay. Okay, so to finish this, to actually make them into strozzapreti, okay, what you want to do is, I'm going to show you with a slightly better one. You need to actually roll them, okay, and make this like a neck that's been throttled. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'll do another one for you. Like that. Okay, so it sort of twists, and there it is. Okay, so we've got 2 and 3. Okay, so then you just break them off at the end, and that's a good one. Okay, each one will be slightly different, and as you start to get better, you'll find that you'll get them all more looking the same. Okay, so I'm just turning, twisting and turning, and just making it look like a throttled priest's neck. Okay, so there you have it. The final one. Okay, so if you're having problems, we'll leave that as a long one. Doing these, just use your index finger, both index fingers, push it, and where it gets squished a little bit more, okay, just break it off. Sometimes it'll actually break itself off on its own as you squeeze it. Just the 2 index fingers, and it becomes very small at the end, and keep going. Obviously, if you don't get your index finger, you get your middle finger, okay, and that's it. Just keep going like that. Right, so we haven't gone over cooking times or how you finish it off, but what you need to do is you need to put them in a pan of boiling water with a bit of salt. You obviously use exactly the same amount of salt as you would do normally, and then instead of timing it, you just wait until they start floating. When they float and they're all basically up on the surface, drain it and serve it. There you have it. Okay, later. Okay, so that's 800 grams of homemade pasta, okay, all here, as you can see. strozzapreti going in the freezer. So what I'm going to do now is pop them in the freezer, leave them for about a couple of hours, and once those couple of hours are up, I'll then whack them all in a bag, and so whenever I want, I can take out whatever I want. As long as you've got a little bit of flour, they'll keep separated, and you can use them the way you'd normally use normal pasta. The only thing is, it tastes a lot better. Okay, right, so if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, press that bell button, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. Okay, ciao.